The book of Hosea, chapter 1. The word of the Lord came to Hosea, son of Beeri, during the reigns of Uzziah, Jotham, Ahaz, and Hezekiah, kings of Judah, and during the reign of Jeroboam, son of Jehoash, king of Israel. Hosea's wife and children. When the Lord began to speak through Hosea, the Lord said to him, Go, take yourself an adulterous wife and children of unfaithfulness, because the land is guilty of the vilest adultery in departing from the Lord. So he married Gomer, daughter of Diblaim, and she conceived and bore him a son. Then the Lord said to Hosea, Call him Jezreel, because I will soon punish the house of Jehu for the massacre at Jezreel, and I will put an end to the kingdom of Israel. In that day I will break Israel's bow in the valley of Jezreel. Gomer conceived again and gave birth to a daughter. Then the Lord said to Hosea, Call her Lo Ruhamah, for I will no longer show love to the house of Israel, that I should at all forgive them. Yet I will show love to the house of Judah, and I will save them, not by bow, sword, or battle, or by horses and horsemen, but by the Lord their God. After she had weaned Lo Ruhamah, Gomer had another son. Then the Lord said, Call him Lo Ami, for you are not my people, and I am not your God. Yet the Israelites will be like the sand of the seashore, which cannot be measured or counted. In the place where it was said to them, You are not my people, they will be called sons of the living God. The people of Judah and the people of Israel will be reunited, and they will appoint one leader and will come up out of the land, for great will be the day of Jezreel. So there is quite a bit here just in this first portion. Listen to what Hosea. So Hosea lived during I want to say even pre Jeremiah, because he was alive before even. So Israel has been split up into two different kingdoms by this time after Solomon. And the reason why is because of, go back to Second Kings, I believe, and that's where it's after King Solomon and his sons, where the kingdom is split into two. It's split into Israel and Judah, and so he lived right around the time before Israel was exiled to Assyria, and Judah was going to be all that was left in the promised land. And so listen to what Hosea is told. When the Lord began to speak through Hosea, the Lord said to him, Go, take yourself an adulterous wife and children of unfaithfulness, because the land is guilty of the vilest adultery in departing from the Lord. So he married Gomer, daughter of Diblaim, and she conceived and bore him a son. So the Lord was telling him to go and marry a woman that would not be faithful, is already known to not be faithful or not. It's basically a prostitute. And so, and to have children, which he does. And so, what that is showing is how the Lord feels at that time, how about Israel as a whole. Israel, he understands that, so Hosea understands that this is being utilized through his life as a message to the people, that this is just how understanding the Lord is. The Lord is always watching. The Lord is the past, present, the future. He sees all. And during this time, Israel, remember, Jeroboam was not of the line of David. He came and he started ruling as a leader in Israel, and departed completely from the worship of the Lord. He was no longer worshiping the Lord. He was worshiping other gods. He even created an image of God. And so the people of Israel were sacrificing to it, and they were starting to mix other practices and other religions from other nations, to the point where Israel was no longer really relying on the Lord at all. They were relying on their own thoughts and beliefs, their own feelings, their own contracts with other nations that were around them. And none of the nations around them, remember, Israel was supposed to be the beacon of hope. They were supposed to be the showing what it was to follow the Lord, and then they were to be blessed, and then the blessings would outpour onto all the other nations, and everybody would understand what it was to worship the Lord. However, the people of Israel decided they didn't want to fully worship the Lord. It was too hard, or it was too much for them, or there was always an excuse to whatever it is, and they didn't have the faith. They didn't believe. They didn't have the faith. They thought they were starting to get further and further from generations from where the Lord had physical actions that they could see, like the parting of the Red Sea, the plagues and such. So they were getting further and further away from things, even though they weren't, because their blessing, the promised land and the milk and honey and everything that they were experiencing was the continuous grace, the peace from the Lord. However, they were taking that peace for granted, which is huge piece to even think about it, bringing past to present. And so the people of Israel were taking the Lord's love for granted. They were taking his gifts for granted. They were taking his blessings for granted. Not only that, but they were deeming it upon themselves. And when things would go like their own doing, and when things would go bad, because of how detestable they were towards each other, how they did not protect the widow, how they did not honor their father and mother. You go down the Ten Commandments, they were doing the exact opposite, and seeing that things were not going their way, then blaming the Lord, who is holy, because they were sinning, they were doing wrong. And the Lord was there, and he was continually forgiving. That's why they weren't immediately exiled. They weren't immediately, okay, you broke all the laws, you broke the covenant, immediately exiled, right? No, he gave them time over and over again. And this was the example. This was the example to the people. Hosea's life and what he was going through and what he was told to do was an example to the people. Marry a prostitute. The Lord saying he basically married Israel, as his chosen people, and they are not faithful. It says a lot, right? Faith, right? When it comes down to it, it's all about faith, and they were not faithful. They were not faithful. Bringing past to present, do we take the Lord's blessings for granted? Is there things in our life that have blessed us? And we haven't yet returned that to the world, to other situations, to allow for that blessing to continue, because we kept it inside. We kept it selfishly to ourselves. One thing that I can tell you, being a follower of the Lord, being a follower of the way of Christ, and not reaching out to people, not allowing the Holy Spirit to say, hey, this is an opportunity to be a witness, or hey, this is an opportunity to be a self-example, to show what love is. That it can also be preventative of others and their being able to continue on their journey, to understand what it is to feel the Lord's love. So really take a look at our lives and see, are we taking advantage? You can see around how the Lord loves his people. The Lord loves his creation, us humans, right? Even those that don't believe in him, he still loves them. And we can see that the people who may not have a relationship with the Lord obviously take for granted They're the blessings that we have on a day to day. They don't know where these things come from. They may believe that they have an idea that it may have came from themselves or things that they have done or worked for. They don't understand that all good things come from the Lord. It's not just luck. It's not just things that you do to research and find out. Being able to even just do that is brought to you by the Lord. And no, that will not be trademarked. But think about it. Think about it in all different aspects of our lives. So are we truly understanding the gifts from the Lord and the fruit of the Spirit as well? We'll get to the fruit of the Spirit and the gifts from the Lord more so when we get to the New Testament. But take a look at our lives, take a look at the blessings, and see, are we thankful and are we faithful to the Lord for his milk and honey, for those blessings that continually rain down? Before we go on, though, what kind of thoughts or feelings come to your mind when we read over this? How does it make you feel and what does it make you think?